Ciao a tutti ragazzi, benvenuti in un nuovo video del mio canale che si chiama 2448 Music. Oggi avremo la possibilità di parlare con un compositore oltreoceano, precisamente da Vancouver, Canada, e parleremo del suo viaggio come musicista professionista nel mondo della musica per media e nello specifico del sync licensing, e quindi sono molto orgoglioso di poter introdurvi a voi. Ovviamente l'intervista diventerà switcherà in lingua inglese, quindi prepareremo dei sottotitoli o comunque attivateli sul video di YouTube per capire se non lo capite. E sono contento di potervi introdurre Steven Battle.
Hello.
Did I say it right? Did I say it right?
Yeah, you got it.
Awesome. Great. So, welcome Steven to this small Italian YouTube channel.
Thanks, man.
Thank you for joining us, and thank you for sharing with us in the next few minutes your experience and your knowledge as far as the world of sync licensing and what has been your journey so far, pretty much. So thanks again.
Yeah, man, my pleasure. Thanks for having me, man.
Awesome. So, as I mentioned in the introduction, I said that you were from Vancouver, Canada.
Yeah.
And you've been a composer for media for quite a bit. I've met you technically today for the first time, but I've met you before that through your YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And I was always very interested about your journey into it, because it's kind of very similar to mine, actually, because I started with royalty-free platforms. Mm-hmm. And as far as I understood from your videos, I think that's pretty much what happened to you as well, right? So,
yes.
I guess I'm going to start with a couple of questions as far as this, and then we can, the idea is that I have my tea here. It should be just like any regular chat, like if we were at Starbucks.
Yeah, absolutely.
It doesn't have to be very formal and serious in a way, but
yeah.
So I guess, Steven, what is your journey? What has been your journey, and how you got introduced into sync licensing, and give us some insights.
Well, it's been a long and sort of varied, a lot of random experiences. I met somebody, I guess it must be 6 or 7 years ago, he basically was starting a production library at the time, and I'd never even heard of the concept until he told me about it. I didn't understand what production music even was until he kind of asked, or he was telling me about it. And he said he was starting this music library, and he was looking for composers. And I didn't really have much production music or a production experience at all at the time. I think at the time that he approached me about this, I basically was at the stage of kind of making demos for my band. I used Logic Pro, and I would record acoustic guitar and some vocal ideas, and I would that's about the extent of my production knowledge at the time. So he asked me if I could write him some more commercial sort of leaning indie acoustic folk kind of music, pretty simple, just a couple layers of acoustic guitar, maybe some some background vocals, really simple stuff. And I said, sure. And, he paid me for per track. I think he paid me at the time, it was $400 or $500 per song. And I kind of got good at doing that. And through that process, I learned a little bit more about how to make music sound good, and how to mix it and those kinds of things. And that was sort of my first introduction to writing production music. Later on, I kind of stopped doing that for a while, and then later on, someone I met randomly told me that he was working with this site called Audio Jungle, and he was making a lot of money there, just recording, making these orchestral mock-ups and stuff. So I was curious about it, and I created an account and I started doing the same thing there. I just uploaded a few of my tracks, non-exclusive stuff, and didn't really have any expectations. And, before long I was making, a few $100 a month there. And I thought that was really interesting. And this was right before COVID, I guess, around 2018 or 2019. And it was an interesting time for me because I was working, I'd been working service jobs my whole life. I'd worked in coffee shops and, that kind of stuff. And I was really keen to find a way to make music a full-time thing for me so that I didn't have to work those jobs that I didn't really like too much. And so I was motivated to see how far I could push this whole, production music thing. And I worked really hard to try to become a better producer. And one thing led to another. Audio Jungle turned into working with multiple different libraries like Motion Array and Artlist, and then it kind of took off from there. And I was really fortunate to kind of get in with a few of those companies at a very good time when they were kind of coming up. And I'm here. I'm today. I'm still doing it like 5 or 6 years later, and I've been really fortunate to say that it's been a full-time thing for quite some time now.
Well, that's awesome. So I actually didn't know this aspect. So you got introduced in the first place with production music, literally, in a way, with some advance or upfront fees, if I understood correctly. Am I right?
Yeah, exactly. That was the first introduction to it, and it was I was really lucky to have that because the friend who was starting this library, he kind of coached me a little bit. He told me how to produce. He gave me a lot of really, really great tips, and he kind of sped run me through the whole process of like creating like a track that would work for like a commercial, sync music, that kind of thing. So it was a really good education for the first while, but it was tough because he wouldn't accept all the tracks that I would do. There was a lot of trial and error at the time. It was hard to meet his quality bar, especially at the time because I was such an unexperienced producer. So I would, I'd feel really defeated when I couldn't get the approval for a track, and I was still trying to figure things out at the time. But it was great. It was like trial by fire.
Yeah, I know. I know the struggle. I mean, I always tell everybody that asks me about this world of sync licensing, you gotta have a very thick skin,
Yeah.
You gotta accept a lot of no's. You gotta accept the fact that you realize by smashing your face in the wall, you don't know a lot of stuff when it comes to producing. I still am. I still feel like I am initially, first of all, a singer-songwriter that then turned into like a composer for media. So I'm still like sometimes I still go back into that mindset, and it's kind of like counterproductive in a way, because you need to think differently when you're writing for those type of, medias and those type of that kind of music, and respecting edit points, respecting all this stuff, And so I guess my next question is, what kind of musicians were you before entering like with both feet the world of sync licensing?
Well,
because like I said, I still am a performer, singer songwriter, and but what were you before that?
Yeah, well, I was in bands. I've always been in bands. I when I moved out to Vancouver, I was only 18 or 19 or so, and the whole point of me coming out here was to join a band and to tour and to play guitar and sing, So I didn't really think of myself as a singer-songwriter. I was more just I was up for anything, whether that meant backing a band up or just starting my own band. I did both. And I had some mild, success there. It never took off and became a full-time thing, but I did a lot of touring. I backed up some bands that did really well. I got to see a lot of the country, which is really, really special. And while I had the energy for it when I was young, I really, I'm really grateful that I had those experiences, and it taught me a lot about not only, how to be a confident performer, but also taught me a lot about songwriting and structure and some production stuff too, just the art of writing songs and all that. So it was that for a long time between the age of 19 till I was about 35. I did that as like my primary thing. I just wanted to play music live. And it all kind of shifted once I got into music production. I kind of switched gears, and as I became, once I got past 35 or so, then I found touring and to be really exhausting and not exactly the most healthy thing for me to be doing. So it was a good natural sort of shift there, but I still am that guy. I still play live, just not as much anymore. I still play with the band, and I still write songs for my band, and that's all completely separate from the experience of being a music producer. It's totally a different thing, but I still keep it alive to this day.
Yeah, that's actually very, I believe, helpful for musicians that they feel like they are contained into like a description that they made of themselves.
Yeah.
To understand that this is a world that it's open to anyone. You just need to, of course, get out of your comfort zone in a way. So it's very interesting that your background is in a way similar but different from mine, and we kind of like convene in the same alley, which is sync licensing in this way, and there's definitely lessons to learn in your story. So that's very cool. I would like to talk about next as a subject. We kind of briefly already anticipated, or you did in briefly earlier on, about the creative process. This is like when I talk to Italian musicians and composers, this is kind of like a small A-bomb.
Oh yeah, why is that?
They usually get about like the difference between writing for sync or media in general and writing music for your band. You know, like the artistic approach to it. You know, everybody has their own opinion. They feel entitled. My music, me here, my music there. That is just garbage, whatever. So I really would like to know what is your opinion about that, and if you feel like the way you write, the way you think about writing music for sync differ from writing for your personal projects or other type of music, or producing other artists, whatever that can be.
Yeah, this is such a loaded subject, because it's
yes, it is.
yeah, it really just depends on the genre. It's hard to make generalizations, because if I'm writing something for like, you know, if I'm writing like dramedy for like reality TV, there's this set of rules that I apply, you know, that are very specific to that type of placement. If I'm writing for a track for Artlist, then, you know, I have a lot of artistic and creative freedom there to kind of, you know, to follow different rules. When it's outside the realm of production music and I'm just writing for my band, there is no rules really. You know, like that's right. The difference is I can kind of do whatever I want. But I guess the most common sort of set of principles that I can think of that kind of fall across all the production music that I write is just thinking about the arrangement a little bit differently, and everything is in a general sense is kind of more simplified. So there's, you know, for me usually it means like a quicker intro, getting to the point a little faster, getting to like the chorus or the A section, whatever you want to call it, getting to that, like establishing that vibe and that message pretty much like almost immediately, and then a simple breakdown, and then coming back to that, and then re-exploring that climactic section in sort of a different ways. Whereas, for example, if I'm writing for my band, I can think about doing things like adding a bridge, or even doing like a key change and stuff like that. Things that just generally don't happen in production music, because production music is really kind of centered around a singular motif and a singular idea, and then just kind of it's like presenting that in a short form, and not deviating from it too much, other than just the dynamic energy, if that makes sense. So it's like
absolutely
you kind of have to simplify your approach to everything. And also, like, you know, I'm not gonna do things like, I'm not gonna add a solo to a production track, because
right.
these things are sort of like self-indulgent things that you can do in the band world that don't really apply to production music, because you're serving another purpose. With production music, you're writing music that's serving media, right? So you kind of have to it's kind of like you have to forget about what you want and start thinking about like what works best for placements. So it's less of an artistic approach and more of an artisanal sort of approach, if that makes sense.
I believe that is the perfect explanation and the perfect way to explain what it means to write for the sync world, which it doesn't mean that it cannot be artistic, like you mentioned.
Totally.
But it definitely feels like it's a river, floating in between specific shores. Like you have to follow how that path goes down, and in a way, where as you mentioned, when I'm writing my music, I just don't have any limits. I'm just exploring whatever the heck I can think of.
Yeah.
And if you do that, I believe, and I'm asking you, but I believe you will have a very hard time finding placements in the world of sync licensing if you do whatever you want. But that's I believe it's a very interesting subject, and I think you really summarized it the perfect way. So I was actually looking forward for that answer, and
good.
That's the one I actually wanted to. So I'm happy. I'm perfectly on board with you.
Cool.
And let me connect this concept to the world of royalty free, because as you mentioned, like what I'm trying to do with my channel personally is, as we talked about before we started recording, is trying to educate a little bit more Italian musicians in the world of sync licensing, because it's a very niche market.
Yeah.
Very, it's really a niche market, like per se, like in the entire world. But in Italy, it's even smaller and smaller. So, and I believe instead that there's like a lot of good musicians here that could benefit from this market, and there has to be a way that you get the initial spark to start understanding and getting the excitement out of it. Would you say, and now we're entering a subject that, having watched your last video, it might be a little sensitive, but would you say that the royalty-free platforms are still a good option to kind of like, again, get the gist of what it is to write for music for medias in general?
Well, yeah, it's a complicated answer because I think that they're not viable platforms anymore for actually pursuing like for a meaningful income. I think that it's like I said in that video that you're talking about. It's not impossible to make some money from, say, selling a license on Pond5 or wherever you're wanting to put your music, and I think that not to reiterate all the points of the video, but I mean, it's like if you there's a sort of a safe approach with the royalty free libraries, in the sense that there's they're non-exclusive, they're like libraries like Pond5 will pretty much accept anything. So if you feel like you want to sort of like do music licensing with training wheels, I think it's fine. I mean, with Pond5, you don't risk having to deal with rejection, and it can get you sort of, maybe you can build confidence through that route. But I mean, I'm always going to push people and musicians and composers that are wanting to get into this world to aim high, and learn to grow a thick skin when it comes to dealing with the inevitable rejection that you're going to face. Because there's only so many. I mean, it's just you're just not going to please everybody. That's something that's you have to live with. One person might not be into your music, and they'll just be like, no, we don't want this. That doesn't mean it's objectively not good. It just means that maybe your music just doesn't work for that publisher, or maybe they already have enough of that, whatever you're pitching them. And so
right.
it's this numbers game. And you have to get into this mindset that like, it's not about, I mean, it's really just about like, carving out the time in your day to pitch the music and get it out there, as much as it is about improving your craft as well. And eventually you're going to find someone that believes in you and like it believes that and sees the potential in your music. And I mean, that is a process and a journey all in of itself. So I think with royalty free, there's this, the benefit of it working with these like stock libraries is that you know, some of them are very accessible. You can kind of get on there pretty easily and put your music up and maybe that's a good place to start. I don't know, but I think a lot of people that are interested in this, like you and I, are interested in the earnings potential. Like we're trying to. Like for me, it was like the motivation was like I really like the idea of producing music and making money and paying the bills with that. I'd much rather do that than go work in a coffee shop. That was the whole point. That's the whole reason why I got into it. Not that money is the only motivating factor in my life. It's just that I love music, so I want to be surrounded by it every day, all day. You know, like that's what I want to do. And if that means writing for sync placements, like I'm all for it. So I think if that's the case, if you're in that position, then I think you have to like assess whether there's real income potential with those royalty-free libraries. And at this point, I just don't think it's feasible. I know a few people here and there that are doing okay on like some of these platforms, like for instance, Motion Array, but they have large catalogs. Like they've been doing it for years. They have like hundreds of songs. So like, to start it at this point from zero, I think it's be very, very difficult. I would much, you know, if I was starting from zero today, then I would be looking at trying to get into the sync licensing game, not into the royalty-free stock library game.
Got it. It makes sense. Just a quick note, I did struggle personally quite a bit in the beginning with that rejection you mentioned earlier, which is very difficult to deal with, especially when you know you did something that it's made well. Yeah. At least it's good enough. You know it is, because otherwise that means you wasted your entire life making music in a way, and it still gets rejected. It was personally very, very hard in the beginning to understand that. The hardest thing too was when I was collaborating with other musicians, and my music was getting accepted through them in the same platforms that were rejecting it. Yeah, that was like making my head explode, because I was like, why? And then you learn that you not only have to accept the rejection because, you know, they just happen in this world, but the fact that they might just not need it. And that's like probably the key from this industry, you know, like the need for that music that you're making. And okay, that would be an interesting question. How do you approach that? How do you like do market study, or how do you work exclusively by briefs, or do you build an album or a few tracks and then you pitch them? What is your favorite ways of working, and how do you try to stay up to date? I know I asked 15 questions, but hopefully it's not too overwhelming.
Do you think, like, when you ask that, do you mean like how do I approach it now, or how would I approach it if I was, like, say, starting, like if I'm wanting to pitch to a new library, like from what perspective?
Oh, wow. Okay. I'm personally more interested in the now. Okay. But I think for viewers, it will be probably interesting also the beginning steps, because at the end of time, we're trying to do this in an educational way. So maybe if you can give us both answers.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So like, I mean, for now, and forever, I always reference stuff. Like I listen to things intensely before I even get started on any project. I have to reference with libraries like Artlist, for example. They're great because when they give me a brief, when they give me a project to work on, they give me the references, you know, on their own, and they say, and you know, they're stylistic references. Some of them, sometimes they're Spotify links, sometimes they're links to tracks that are already on their catalog, and it's not like they're asking me to create a carbon copy of it. They're just saying, look, this is the kind of style overall that we're like looking for this type of track, but go for it and do your own thing. Where my referencing really becomes useful to me is looking at the arrangement. You know, what's the beats per minute? How much time does it take to get from the intro section to the chorus. Where does the chorus start? How many times does it happen? Is there a B section? How long is that? So one thing it's like, really, really helpful for me when I was starting to write production music is just like, man, just copy the reference, like the arrangement exactly. Like just take the BPM and take your markers in Logic or Cubase, whatever it is you're using it, and just map out the arrangement before you even start writing anything, and then write into that arrangement. It makes it easier, man. Like for me, it made it a lot easier, because what I used to do, and it would drive me crazy, is I would like start writing like 4 bars of a track and the way I think of it is it's like the blueprints for a house. You wouldn't just start building the house. You have to write. You need the schematic, and then you need to like carve out the ground for the basement, and then you put in the wire frame or whatever it is. It's like piece by piece. So to think of writing your track like you're following a schematic. And then put the basic elements in place, like start with like the basic drum beat or the vibe, and then build the chord progression, and then start creating details on top of that basic outline, rather than try to find all of the details right away for the first 4 bars of the track before you've like mapped it out. It's like that's the thing that really completely changed my approach to production. It really, really helps. And I still do that to this day. So I listen to a reference. I'm like, okay, I really like the way that this is mapped out. I like the tempo. And then I'll just create the blueprint for that. And then I'll change the chords and do my own thing and like put my own melodies on it, of course, Awesome. And then the other side of referencing is just like listening to, the textures and the instruments that are being used and like in the more like typical way of referencing. But yeah, that's one like thing that really helped me. And then to sort of dive into the other part of the question, which is like, maybe I misunderstood but like, how would you approach like, was part of the question, like, how would you approach like putting together a package of songs like to pitch to a library?
No, it was more about like, what is your favorite way of working in terms of that, and how do you stay, let's say, up to date with what are the major trends, if you follow the major trends. That was more the idea of that question. It was less technical and more of like, as you know, you kind of have to navigate this industry, trying to stay on top of what's working as well, in order to again make some syncable music that eventually will bring some back-end royalties in your pocket, right? So if I was curious about your approach into like again, if you prefer working with briefs or pitching, or how do you, I guess I can extend that question too, like how do you hunt for publishers, or do they contact you?
I've been really lucky to have people contact me, and this is like, and as you may know already, this is the major benefit of having like a YouTube channel and some visibility. And I think that this is maybe a whole other conversation.
I don't know it yet.
Yeah.
I hope to know it soon.
Yeah.
But, by the way, let me clarify for all the viewers. Steven has an amazing YouTube channel where he talks about sync licensing, but not only, like even producing music for the world of sync licensing. So, and if I'm correct, you also have like some courses and classes that can be purchased, right?
Yes. Yeah.
I don't know if you can say quickly something about that, because I don't know necessarily all the details, and I would like you to,
Sure. Yeah, I have a YouTube channel. It's just under my name, Steven Bedall, and then I run an education business called the Production Music Academy. You can check it out at productionmusicacademy.com or productionmusictools.com. It's courses on all sorts of different genres and styles, all related to production music and sync music specifically. But yeah, thanks for letting me do the quick,
no worries, man.
quick shameless promo.
No, it's not shameless, actually. I think I wanted to ask you this. I was thinking about this earlier before we started recording. I wanted to talk to you and having your opinion about the fact that, I don't know, but my experience in the music business, Europe and before that in the US, when I was living in the US, it's that this probably is the industry where musicians are sharing the most with each other. Am I right? Am I wrong? Does it feel that way? It feels like we're all open to help each other, sharing context, just, helping out each other, because in a way we all feel, at least that's the way I feel it, we feel in the same boat, trying to, work for those future earnings. And I love this. I just absolutely love that. I can't complain with how my colleagues treated me in the US. They were amazing. In Italy, it's a different story, and I'm gonna leave it up to that. I'm not gonna dig into it, but because I don't want to make me any more enemies than I already have here in this country. But but the musicians sometimes they fight each other for the little slice of that cake, and I feel like. And I would like to know your opinion about this, if it's true or if it's just me seeing all, glitters everywhere. If you see this aspect of being a very huge worldwide community in a way.
Well, this is such a great topic of conversation, because I'll preface this by saying that, like, I don't know anybody that's doing what I'm doing in Vancouver. Like, I feel completely isolated. Except for the one friend of mine who I mentioned at the beginning of this interview, who reached out to me about production music. He was like, until he mentioned it to me, I just had no idea it even existed, this world. And like you said, it's really niche, right? So like, I don't know anyone else in Vancouver. Through even all my friends, they're just like, when I tell them what I do, they're like, what? Like, they don't even understand. They don't even get it. So it's a very niche thing. And when I explain royalty,
think when I have to explain it in Italian to people. What do you do? Sync licensing? What? Oh my God, I'm just gonna give up.
And I try to explain to my parents, like, they're like, I earn money through royalties, and their eyes just glaze over. They're just like, we don't understand, and we're not interested. so like, it's very it's very weird to even grasp it if you're not like in it. And it's hard to even explain how it all works too. So especially royalties are extremely convoluted and confusing. But anyway, so I think that, the fact that is the case for me, that I feel kind of isolated with this, was also one of the reasons why I felt compelled to start the YouTube channel, because I was going on YouTube to learn more about it. And this is the beautiful thing about social media, is that there's this community of people all over the world that are sharing their experience on this platform. And that this is a way to connect with people. And so I thought to myself, well, it's like, well, I should share my experiences too. It's like, I think it's interesting. Maybe other people out there will find it interesting too. And then that's why I started the YouTube channel. And sure enough, there was, and in doing that, in sharing my experiences, I've made friends all over the world. And it's like such a beautiful thing. It's like, only in this crazy world of technology today would we be talking on opposite sides of the world about this subject and sharing this experience. It's just really, really cool. So, I'm not saying I'm not going to try to convince everybody to get on YouTube. It's not everyone's thing, and even social media in general is it can be really exhausting. And I wouldn't even say that I'm very good at it. But going back to what we were talking about earlier, it's like, having put myself out there a lot and being very visible, it's very easy to find me online. And I think that really helped in terms of publishers and other people that have been really helpful to my career in terms of being able to just find me and get in touch with me. And like, that's been a real game changer. YouTube has really helped my career in a big way. And I would totally, I don't think it necessarily has to be YouTube, but I know other people who are really have a big presence on Instagram or TikTok or whatever it is. I think that projecting your experiences out into the world is a really, even if it's just a simple website, it's like a really important thing for composers, I think, in this day and age.
Right. It's almost like a way of reaching out, trying to find friends and people that think alike, right?
Exactly.
And you just we have a very similar life experience, I guess, because when I moved back to Italy, I moved back with the idea of potentially going full time with this, and I found myself very isolated, and for the English language based listeners, I'm living in Northeast Italy right now. I lived a few years outside of Minneapolis, and I moved back with my family. And when we got back, it was tough. It was tough, and I suffered a little bit for that as well. I'm not gonna lie about that, and that's one of the reasons why this channel, which it's still very small, hopefully one day it'll reach your heights. But
I'm still really small relatively too. I mean, it's just like, I still feel like my channel is very, very niche.
I guess if we compare each other to Mr. Beast, we probably will never get there, talking about sync licensing. But, you're definitely one of those people on YouTube that I've always followed through the past few years. And it's actually funny that we're doing this 180 right now, almost at the same time, because I started this 2025 saying, I'm just going to stop putting energies into the royalty free because I see like declining and all this AI stuff happening. And we'll talk about it maybe briefly later because it's another huge A bomb.
Sure, yeah.
All the A stuff. And I would like to know your opinion about that.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a great community. And I found it, and I think for me was the thing that really made me love it. There's not much ego involved with musicians involved in this community, and I always looked for a situation like this professionally, and I finally found it. So if anybody else is like us, I guess it's worth the shot just to see what kind of people are involved, because they're very good people,
Man, I couldn't agree with you more. And like that was the shocking, well, not shocking, but just the thing that I found is that, like, having met so many people that are doing this, they're just the nicest, kindest people. Like the community that I run, the Production Music Academy community online. I mean, they're just amazing, wonderful human beings. They're all, the lack of ego is so refreshing. I don't know what that is, because it's like, for me, having come from the band world, I rubbed up against so many egos. It was tiring. It was tiring. You come up, I'm not sure I really enjoyed a lot of my experiences with people there. I mean, I met a lot of great people through my days of playing music live and stuff too. But the industry I always felt was like kind of like driven by ego. And I don't know, the production, I don't know what it is about production music, but it seems to draw in a really like cool type of human being. So like you said, if you're out there, join us.
I mean, if we didn't sell it right now like this, I don't know what we need to do to convince you, man.
Right.
So join us. I got a lot of stuff that I would like to ask you, but we have limited time, so I'm going to try to, see what we can, maybe it will be a good occasion to create another video in the future and see what, catch up every few months.
Yeah, well, I'll bring you on. I'll bring you on my channel next time.
Oh, that would be awesome. That would be an honor. I got just one curiosity on my end.
Yeah.
What is the breakthrough moment or the memorable so far up to today moment in sync licensing that was like for you, like, yes, I just love this. And I'm not talking about economically speaking. Okay. I'm talking about like just as matter of satisfaction of seeing your music in a specific media or product.
Oh man, there's a few. One mind-blowing experience was Google reaching out to me and asking me to rescore and remix an Olivia Rodrigo song. The one that oh my god, now I'm gonna be embarrassed because I forget the name of the song. You can edit this out. What's the driver's license? What is it?
I don't remember neither.
I got my driver's license. Hold on.
My daughter loves
we gotta edit this out. I gotta check this out because I I can't believe I forget the name.
We're gonna keep everything. This shows how much more interested we are in music than actual naming.
Yeah, sorry, I was right. It was okay. Driver's License. The song "Driver's License" by Olivia Rodrigo. So Google does this recap every year where they do like I don't know, a year in review, a year in Google search review. I don't know. You can go YouTube this. They get millions and millions of views. They're very popular sort of things. They do it every year. And anyway, they reached out to me and asked me to remix an orchestral version of this Olivia Rodrigo song, and I was stunned. I thought it was a scam actually when they emailed me. It was like from Google. They're like, I was just like, this is a scam for sure.
I don't have a mic to drop, but that's definitely a mic drop.
Yeah, I was just then I looked into it and it was just like, oh no, this is real. Like this is actually Google, the team, and then I had a meeting with them, and there was like, it was terrifying. There was like 7 people in this meeting, and they're all just like talking about it, and I was like, this is wow. I was shocked. They found me through YouTube. So there's your case in point in terms of visibility.
I was about to ask, but I kind of figured, and that, kind of gives more validity to what you just said a few seconds ago in terms of like, trying to reach out.
Yeah.
Because there's only positive things to gain, but yeah, that's a mic drop answer, man.
Yeah, so they got me to do this, and I did it for them, and they paid me really well for it, and then my music was used, like my remix was used in this video, and that was like seeing it, of course. They didn't credit me in the description of the video, unfortunately, which I thought, where I asked them to, which I was like, could you credit me? And they're just like, they just ignored me. but it was still
which
kind
is
of
such a Google thing to do, right?
Yeah, I know. But it was cool because they actually licensed the song from Universal or whoever owns it, and I got to listen to the stems of the actual song and do the remix with the stems. It was really cool. And that was sort of like a mind-blowing moment where I was just like, wow, I like did some professional work for one of probably like the biggest company in the world. That was super cool.
That's awesome. That's great. Couple of more questions. I'm just going to go a little quicker now because I don't want to take too much of your time, and I would like to ask so many things. But
if it takes a little longer than an hour, it's all good. There's no huge rush.
That's cool. What would you suggest in terms of considering agencies? So why am I bringing this up? Because that's pretty much how we know each other in a way. I knew you before you joined the agency where we worked together right now, pretty much we can say.
Yeah.
Where we receive briefs and we work on projects. Project gets assigned, blah, blah, blah. Would you say that that's actually how I got introduced on the production music world? Because the royalty-free world, as you said, like you can just Google stuff and kind of find it on your own and pitch ideas and fill up forms and hope for the best.
Yeah.
On certain platforms, let's say it, not anymore, unfortunately.
Yeah.
You can't even do that anymore. You can't even hope. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But back in the day, it used to be, which is funny to say back in the day. It's only been 5 years, but
I know.
That's I guess how fast pacing is this industry actually.
Yeah.
And that's going to be another question before we're done. But would you say that would be a good starting point for a composer or a musician to kind of explore the world of production music, join an agency, and even if that means that you have to leave on the table some, percentage of ownership of your writer share or whatever?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I mean, you gotta start somewhere. I think I tell a lot of composers, there's hundreds, maybe even thousands, I guess, of libraries, of production libraries out there. That you can pitch your music to. It's difficult to know which ones are legit and which ones are going to actually get you placements. A typical deal, like a typical sync licensing deal, would be like a 50-50 split. You get the writer share, they get the publisher share. That's sort of like a standard contract. But like what kind of changed for me with sync is like in the last year, and since we've been part of this agency, it's like, okay, oh no, you're like, I didn't know until I signed on that it would mean giving up a little bit of my writer's share. But the placements are like, you know, much more likely to land, and like some of them are almost guaranteed, you know? So like if that's the case, like if I'm thinking about it, it's like I'm happy to give up some of my writer's share if the placements are like more likely to land. Whereas I'd be more hesitant to sign a contract with a like sort of an unknown sync library where the deal is 50-50, but these tracks could just sit in the catalog potentially forever or for years and not really do anything. So that's the way I think of the trade-off. And I think with an agency, maybe you're there, like I only have experience working with one agency. So like, I don't really, I know there's plenty of them out there, but that would be my calculus, you know, in terms of like giving up my writer's share. And I worked with another publisher before I started working with an agency who had the same thing. He's like, look, you're going to write me music. I'm going to take 15-20% of your writer share, but these placements are all going to go, like they're all going to land. Write me a good track and you'll get tons of placements. And he did. He actually, you know, he was right. So there's like a give and take there. No one wants to give up their writer share, but if you can write fast and you can rest assured that the placements are going to land, then maybe it's worth it, you know?
Yeah, that's exactly my experience. Like with the agency that we are both part of, almost 95% of everything I made, it's already been placed.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes in a very short time. And you know, it's the old subject of, would you rather have like a small raisin or the entire small raisin, or a slice of a melon, you know?
Exactly. Yeah.
I'd rather have the slice of the melon all my life.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I guess we are slowly heading towards the end of our conversation. And again, I want to thank you again, and I want to invite everyone that is listening to and watching this video to go and check Steven's YouTube channel and subscribe, because he just shares so much important knowledge about what it means to be in the world of sync licensing and how to make it profitable. Because let's remind that you're full-time into it right now, right?
Yeah. This has been a full-time thing for at least five years. 5 years.
There you go. So
now.
it's possible, guys. It's possible. It's not an urban legend.
It's not urban. It's not an urban legend.
You know, stuff that you hear on Facebook groups of people making it, and but you know, this is something that I actually say on all of my videos, because I believe this in my core, like that it doesn't even have to be necessarily full time. It can be part-time, It can be just a side gig. And that's the absolute beauty, or from my perspective, of the world of sync licensing. You can still do whatever you're doing, musically speaking. You can still be teaching, or even if you have another job, it can be your, you can have your 9 to 5 job, and then when you come back home, you just write music for production music to make some extra cash. So that's, I believe, the absolute beauty about this. You got to be aware of things, all the things that kind of like we talked about today, but to get some satisfaction out of it, obviously, but it's totally doable. Let's just now completely do a 180 in terms of subjects, which is not just AI, but AI is kind of like involved in this question. And it's like, where do you see the future of sync licensing going? And how does AI, in your opinion, affect this industry, or it will affect at the end?
Well, it's already affecting I think it's already affected the royalty-free landscape. A lot of the like, okay, when someone says stop,
do you see? Sorry if I interrupt. Do you see
okay.
the royalty-free libraries just disappear eventually?
No, I don't think
we're speculating, so you can say whatever you want. We said it.
I think some of them will. I think some of the old platforms are doomed to fail. There was a point like 5 or 6 years ago where there was like so many royalty-free platforms that like were still viable, and I haven't looked at some of them, but I mean I feel like some of them must be. Like I'd be surprised if some of those old ones were still like still up there. I don't know. I mean, the thing is about like some of these old stock sites were selling like very sort of simplistic like music. It's all low hanging fruit for AI, you know. It's not difficult at this point for AI to create like a corporate, like, you know, like a song. It's like they're so basic, you know. Like some of these old tracks that I used to write and sell, they're just like it's like there's no point in writing anything like that anymore because it's like AI could do it. And there's already a ton of like AI, you know, stock music sites. Like you could go to Udio or Sono or whatever it's called, and like create something that sounds like pretty legit for your background music in your YouTube video today, you know. And it's like or like an atmospheric, you know, a track or something simple. Like you can make it sound pretty good. So how is that not going to affect like the stock music royalty free space? I mean, it will. It already is for sure. So it's like why would somebody go and buy that track on Audio Jungle or Pond 5 for $30 when they can go get it for free, right? So it just like you have to do that math. The cool thing about AI is that it's raised the bar, the quality bar, like immensely. So it's like it's forced composers like you and I to really have to like dig deep and create something that's like extremely high quality, original, and like meaningful and organic and you know and it has to stand out because it's got to be better than that like base level that AI could do. And you know, give it 2-3 years, it's going to be. I mean, it gets better all the time. It's a little scary, but the other thing to sort of point out is that, you know, we're pretty well aware at this point that AI is basically just scraping copyrighted material and like regurgitating it on some level. And I think, you know, a lot of the publishers that we deal with, especially in the sync world, they look at that as just being like, hell no, we're not going to touch that. We don't even want to come close to it because it's just like a total legal liability. So that's a good thing because it means that they still have to rely on human composition.
It means that we still have a job.
It means that we still have a job for now. I mean, I don't know if it'll change. I mean, like the way somebody asked me, like they commented on a video I put out the other day and they said like, you know, AI, like, aren't you worried about AI and this and that? I just responded, you know, I try not to worry about things I can't control. It's like worrying about an earthquake, you know, could happen at any moment. I just don't put energy into worrying about it at this point. I see it. I think it's also a technology that's going to be really interesting for production and for composition as well. I use it all the time. I use ChatGPT all the time. I think it's great. So I'm
guilty of that. I'm guilty of that as well.
I'm not an AI doomer. I'm really not. And I think it's like, it's fascinating to see. But the thing I do worry about is just how fast it's all happening. There's just no time to adjust. So like, I'm worried about more like macro level things like, you know, people losing their jobs, like, you know, in tech. And just how that kind of seeing it shape society, reshape things in so fast, just like year after year, it just gets crazier and crazier. That's what worries me, is that we don't have the time to adjust to all of it.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think, by the way, today I was reading an article about how what is it called? The U.S. Copyright Office decided that AI-generated works can't be copyrighted.
Yeah,
but I need to read more into it.
Yeah, me too.
And, I'm not sure what's going on, but it seems that, as you mentioned, the AI problem, if we can call it that way, it's probably never gonna disappear. You can stop like such a force that has been created like that, but it will be probably legalized in a little niche, and some people will, not some people, just some platforms will probably not survive. That's my speculation, speculative idea, I guess. But as far as production music, and that's one of the main reasons as well why I'm kind of doing a 180 into production music, because I put myself in the publisher's seat, and I'm like, oh, that is a nightmare. I don't want to deal with this.
Yeah.
Like with non-copyrighted stuff. So yeah, again, being an educational video, this in a way, do not worry. There's still gonna be quite a lot of music to be written.
I think so. Yeah, I think for years to come that'll be the case. I hope so. Anyway, I think that there'll still be tons of demand for human-driven music. And you know what? It's like Artlist is doing better than ever. None of their music is AI. It's all written by human beings. And lots of people have asked me. It's like, well, why would anybody go buy a track if you can just go to the YouTube music library and use the free music? I'm just like, well, because people are interested in quality, and
exactly.
where you get people will invest in a quality product. They will pay for a quality product. So if you want the best of the best, like the cream of the crop music, it's there. It's written by humans, and people will pay money for it. So.
I mean, after all, they're training on our own work. So
yeah, exactly.
If we stop making it, the AI is not going to have anything to train on. So
yeah, it's an understandable concern. I mean, a lot of people ask me about it all the time, and I try to like keep up with what's going on in AI. I think it's important. Like if you're like someone who works with technology, I think you have to like be on top of it. And I'm excited to see how it gets implemented in like digital audio workstations, for example. That's going to be interesting because it hasn't really happened yet. Maybe the only sort of like maybe Logic a little bit with their new like session.
I was about to say Logic is starting to add some stuff in there.
It's not that great.
I think even the latest mastering tool that you can activate.
Exactly.
There's some I think that's kind of like
yeah.
Sometimes I use it. It's, when you have to send a reference just or a demo type of, it kind of like cuts a lot of time, just to get it a little nice sounding without having to spend like 20 minutes making my quick master just for somebody else to listen on MP3, just activate that and use it for a demo. So I look forward to that because it's going to save us a lot of time. And, as you mentioned, it's not just a high pace industry because it's changing yearly, but it's also a high pace way of working, quick briefs, quick deadlines. You always have to be faster and faster in producing. And that stuff is going to be very useful.
Yeah.
Well, Steven, I don't want to take any more of your time, and I'm really honored that you gave me the chance to talk to you and share all of your knowledge and your opinions about all these matters and subjects. And I really hope you had fun, and it was a good time to spend. Like,
I really appreciate you bringing me on your channel, man, and I hope we can spread the word to Italy, and maybe I'll make some Italian friends along the way, because my wife and I want to visit, and we'll have a little Italian meetup.
If you ever will be near Venice, mi casa es tu casa, so you know where to find me.
Thanks, man.
You're welcome. Ragazzi, è stato un piacere, grazie ancora per averci ascoltato, seguito, e spero con interesse, spero fosse interessante. Andate a seguire Steven nel suo canale, lo metterò in descrizione. Se avete piacere a seguire i miei contenuti, faccio lo youtuber adesso, anche se non mi piace farlo, ma iscrivetevi, accendete la campanellina, fate tutte le cose che dovete fare per ricevere le notifiche quando verranno caricati i futuri video. E io vi saluto e ci vediamo alla prossima. Ciao a tutti, ragazzi.
Ciao. Did I say it right?
Done. That's it.